Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to Find Your Light Live, a healing space for Black and West Indian women. Today, I want to talk about the courage to be yourself in systems that demand otherwise and how we can perform to stay safe. But before we begin, hey everybody, my name is Rashni Cope. I am a content creator and I am a certified life coach. I'm also the mom to a son with special needs. I am a Black woman healing and I create humor-filled healing spaces so that other Black women can heal too. If that's you, you are welcome, okay? I am live on Facebook and YouTube today. If you are watching live, drop a pineapple in the chat and tell me where you're watching from. And if you're on the replay, hit me with the pineapple emoji. I love a good emoji, okay? Hit me with it. I love it. So today you can tell I'm feeling really chill. And I wasn't 100% sure where to go with today's video, but I think I got it, but it's kind of like a healing out loud. So just get something to drink. I am drinking on my tea from Green Heifer Farms. Okay, the Sanity is in here with a little extra something with some electrolytes and such. And that's what I'm hydrating on today as we talk about Black women and the performance tax and safety. Hello, S. Oliver from North Carolina. Okay, I wasn't sure what direction to go with today's video. So hopefully I can get this out and it makes sense and it is helpful to you. As I said, my audience is Black women. And so I am going to specifically be talking about the systems of race and gender, although I will be referencing all the others, okay? But to keep it tight and to keep it right, I'm going to be talking about race and gender. I eventually landed on this idea of the performance tax, and I'll tell you what I mean by the performance tax and how systems that we live in require us at times to perform an inauthentic version of ourselves to be safe, to feel safe. It's a concept that I have been thinking of a lot lately, specifically when it comes to patriarchy and gender. That's been boppling through my head. However, I stumbled on a video, which I'm going to actually use to underpin today's video. A different creator's video that was talking about it from the vantage point of race. And I was like, oh my God, this is so perfect. So instead of being inspired by her video, we are actually going to watch this other creator's video. And then I'm going to just talk through commentary line by line, basically, about what she talked about. So before we start, let me tell you what I mean by the performance tax. Okay. I don't know if that is a term that somebody else already came up with, but I came up with it. Okay. And it was inspired by the idea of the pink tax, which is a term that people use, right? So the pink tax is a tax, a theoretical, not a real tax, a theoretical tax, well, kind of, where there's a phenomenon where products, like physical products on shelves at stores that are marketed toward women, right, are priced higher, even though it's the same product. Yeah. And so you can go into a store and get razors for women that are pink, and they cost more money than the exact same razor that is blue that's sitting next to it, right? You can go into a store and get pens that are pink, because I guess that's what they think women want, and they will charge you more for that than they do for the exact same pen in blue or black or whatever, right? And so the pink tax is a term used to quantify or explain, encapsulate this phenomenon where women can often be overarchingly paying higher prices for things that are marketed toward them just because they're pink. Yeah. So if you've never heard of the pink tax, that's what that means. I decided to coin this phrase of the performance tax to explain a similar phenomenon that I experience, and I'm sure many of you experience, when it comes to systems that demand our tap dancing, basically. Okay. And like I said, today I'm only going to talk about race, and I'm going to focus on race and gender, but I mean this in all the ways. Okay. And I'm going to say that the performance tax is an emotional tax, a well being tax, where people who are not in the highest part of the system, the lauded part of the system, are emotionally taxed. We pay more of an emotional tax than those who are at the higher part of the hierarchy. Okay. Hi, Lori. So today's video was entirely inspired. Well, no, let me go back. Was inspired by two things. An experience I've been having where I feel like I'm having this performance experience when it comes to gender, and then a video by another creator that explained it so much better than I could. Okay. So I'm going to play the video by the other creator, and then I'm going to talk through, to the best of my ability, my thoughts on performance tax and courage to be yourself in some of these systems. Okay. The creator is, let me put her on the screen. Okay. This is the creator. So this video was uploaded recently by Kiara Bria. She is a creator on TikTok. That's where I saw her video. I did, however, find that she does have a YouTube channel. So if you find this woman's content interesting, check her out on TikTok and on YouTube. She is, the links to her pages are down below, and her name is on the screen, Kiara Bria. Okay. And she popped up on my TikTok timeline. I don't know anything about her content in general, but she was talking good. Okay. Old girl was talking good. All right. This video was specifically about having to perform in white spaces as a Black woman. Now, visually looking at Kiara, she is mixed with something. Yeah. However, based off of her specific commentary in this video, I don't know the girl. I don't know her. Hello, Kiara, if you happen to see this video. I'm gonna guess that Kiara identifies as Black based off of what she says in this video, and or mixed with a heavy dose of alignment to Black culture. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to play her video first. And if you are watching, please tell me whether you can hear her or not. And it's a bit long, but it's good. And then after that, I'm going to just go through her video and talk about my thoughts on what she said concerning race and the parallels, not just in race, but in systems of gender that demand us to perform and tap dance and be inauthentic, as well as how it could affect other systems. I'm not going to go into that. Okay, so first we're going to watch the video. And if you're watching, let me know if you can hear her, okay?
A lot of white people only know how to be friends with happy Black people. They hate it when you stop tap dancing. They hate it when you're not performing at your highest level, because that may be how they met you. And so that's how they see you, strong. There's truly an intolerance for Black people's emotions in white spaces because you perceive them to be more intense and you perceive them to be threatening. And I don't have time to tell you why that's a microaggression. There's certain things I can only tell people one time. After that, I am going to have to vie for my humanity to get your respect. And I don't know how people don't see that that's not fair. I also think that white people don't consider that you're masking sometimes, or a lot of the time, when you're in predominantly white environments. It doesn't mean I'm not used to it. I grew up in PWIs. It doesn't mean it's not tiring. But there's not space for that, because in the status quo that is whiteness and silence and complacency and assumption, in order for me to feel fully human, I will have to disrupt that sometimes. And I just know there's a really big intolerance for me to interpret things differently, to feel uncomfortable, to be honest. And it doesn't need to come from a place of intention, but there is a certain time where I have to say to you, listen, I'm not being paid to tap dance right now. But that will be seen as aggressive. I love it here. It's a really big intolerance for Black people's emotions to take up space in a way that maybe people aren't used to. Maybe they've never had to do it before. I don't, is that my responsibility? it might not be responsibility, but I'm starting to feel that that is what is required of me to feel like people aren't looking at me like I'm a problem. But maybe I am a problem. I'm sure I am a problem. When it comes to what is status quo, what is, again, complacency, we need to understand that the environments and cycles and systems have a natural tone that isn't going to be welcoming to people who are maybe not small, thin, white, whatever. If you can only be friends with a black person when they're super happy and performing in a way that you're used to your other friends performing, that's not tolerance. That's not space. That's not, and it's not about like people being racist or not racist. It's about the way you have learned to be as a person exists in whiteness that I don't have access to. And it'd be nice if you could acknowledge that once in a while. It shouldn't be expected of the black person to always perform to the level and the tap dancing and the certain like smiles and outward projection of what it means to be like comfortable in a white society. Nobody ever considers it doesn't look the same for me. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, I think specifically when you're raised in a predominantly white environment, you might be used to conforming to that. But when you are around people that you should feel comfortable with, you want to be able to take that mask off. And once you do, you're going to see how those people really see you when you are your honest self. And it's so interesting. You could be the most authentic, honest version of yourself. And they'll say, who is this version of you? I only know the tap dancer. Requiring a black person to explain why their experience is different than yours in a room that you were in, like it couldn't possibly be true because you were there, is negating their whole experience as a black person and their ability to interpret things that start off as microaggressions but end up in danger. Because when we're looking for microaggressions, it's for safety reasons. The same way you as a woman, when you say to your man, there's this little thing that bothers me and I know you don't get it, but I need you to care that it bothers me. That's the space. You cannot understand it, but you should care that it bothers me. And unfortunately, a lot of times that little space isn't given because it's too much of a disruption of the status quo. And for me to act like that's valid or fair to me is stripping my humanity. And you can disagree with that, but I don't know how to explain to you. I'm not a tap dancer in a cage. I need fucking air. I need oxygen. Once your presence starts to threaten their relationship with the white man who may or may not hold the keys to their industry, and you understand that you and your black presence and your need to vie for your own humanity might come in the way of their social status, their seat at the table, and you start to see something in their eyes of they will sacrifice you for that because it's in their blood. It's in their blood. And this is why, like, when we're talking about social settings and white people think that they know how you are meant to behave and you are ostracized for not behaving with the status quo, it's like, you know, I always think about the impetus for black people to run away and laugh or run away as they're laughing is to not get caught by their slave owners. But you can't say to them, are you thinking about the blood of my ancestors and how it makes me behave versus how the blood of your ancestors makes you behave in a primarily white space that to me would feel like a threat and to you feel like home? You're aggressive. Angry.
Okay, so Miss Kiara Bria went off on that one. Okay, she went clear off. Clear off. Once again, links to her TikTok and her YouTube are down below. Okay, so I don't know if I'm going to make it through this video with all my thoughts getting out of my head because this is me just thinking aloud. S. Oliver, she was walking heavy. That's what, like I said, I don't know this girl. I don't know her. Okay. Blue Isis said she saw the video on TikTok. She was walking heavy. I don't know the girl, but looking at Miss Kiara Bria, right? She's living in a mixed woman's body, yaddy yaddy, okay? But she talking real black, okay? So I don't know nothing about her background. I don't know about her upbringing. I don't know what her mix. I don't know what she identifies as. Kiara, if you see this video, please let me know in the comment section below. But what I am going to say is she up in black people's world and her experience is ours because she's too nuanced not to be having it. That's a woman with an experience who has shown up big and black, okay? And probably having, not probably, definitely having even more of an affront because her physical presentation, hello, comes off so much more safe from jump. So when she show up big and black on the inside, it's probably even more jarring to those who thought they was going to get one thing and got another. Okay. All right. Walking heavy. So this is what I'm going to do. I played the whole video so you guys could watch it. I actually have the transcript and I'm going to go through what she talked about piece by piece, right? Read it to you guys. And I'm going to talk about it from the concepts of gender and race. Why? Because I talk to Black women. I might sprinkle in some more stuff because I do talk to West Indian women as well. And I am going to mention some of the other systems, but I'm not going to delve deep into them. So before I even get into the transcript of what Miss Kiara said, okay, let's just acknowledge hierarchical. Woo, that was, listen, let's hydrate on that. Come on now. Y'all know I have a lisp, okay? And sometimes these words be trying to choke me to death live on the internet, okay? Systems, all right? And places where people perform, just in general. Hello? Just in general, all right? Oh, give me a second here. Let me go ahead and, all right. So first of all, of course, there's race, which we're going to get to. Then there's gender. We're going to get to that. Yeah. But these systems and systemic types of performances also show up in religion. Yeah. It shows up in age, right? It shows up in ability or disease, like people who are wheelchair users, people who have hidden disabilities, et cetera, et cetera. It shows up in sexual orientation, which is different than gender. If you don't understand that, I'm not going to teach you. It's like Kiara said, okay, it's 2025. If you wanted to know at this point, you would. You just don't want to know, and I'm not your teacher, okay? Sorry. Like Alanis Morissette said, it's too much to ask for at this point, and I am not your doctor, okay? Bless it. It can show up in systems of hierarchy when it comes to citizenship, like national origin, okay? And in all of these systems, let's just break down hierarchical systems in general. I made a video once talking about this when it came to ability and disability. And I had a beautiful graphic. I wish I had put it up, but I don't have it right now. However, basically, in a hierarchical system, which we all live in, these beautiful systems, I say that with sarcasm, right? One thing is up, another thing is down, right? In the graphic that I made back in the day, I had it like a wheel. And in the hierarchy, the main top of the hierarchy, the accepted version of the thing, the class, was in the center of the wheel. They centered themselves. That's what it means when people say somebody centers themselves. They see themselves as the center, the version that's accepted, and everything else is out there, okay? Everybody in a hierarchical system, I just can't say that word, a system of hierarchy. Come on, Rushni. Get it together. Everyone in a system of hierarchy who believes in the system, because that's important, right? That's important, is aiming toward their potential possibility of hitting the top accepted version or the center of the wheel, depending on how you want to look at it, okay? So when it comes to race, the accepted version is a racially colorblind white person who does not discuss racial issues. That's the accepted version. And those who believe in that hierarchical, didn't I say I was going to switch to systems of hierarchy? Why, Rushni? Why are you your own abuser? Okay, y'all pray for me, okay? Those who adhere to that system are aiming toward whiteness, not in changing their skin color, in the created construct of whiteness, because whiteness is not a real thing, okay? People are from European descent and have less melanin in their skin. Whiteness is a construct. If you don't know that, like Alana said, it's too much to ask for it. I'm too old. It's too much to ask for, and I am not your doctor. Okay. In the space of gender, we're teaching today, okay? I just need to get this. Thank you guys for sitting with me, by the way. I just need to get this out of my brain because this was jostling around in my brain. And then she put that video up, and I was like, that, okay? In the space of gender, the accepted version that we are all aiming at is male, cisgendered male, okay? You came out of your mama hootaha phenotypically male, and you think you're a man. That's what we're supposed to be aiming at, right? They're confident, they're assertive, and they have no emotional expression beyond anger. No accepted emotional expression beyond anger. That's the center of the wheel, the top of the gender hierarchy, right? And everybody who adheres to this hierarchy is aiming at that. Women too, Rushni? Yes, women too. We'll talk about it, okay? When it comes to religion, the accepted version is Protestant Christianity. Tell me I'm wrong. And I say this as a Protestant Christian. It's me. I'm the accepted version. Okay. Not exactly, but I am. Okay. So everybody is supposed to be a Protestant based Christian. Okay. And everybody else is on the outskirts. Right. And I'm not going to dig deep into this. However, I just have two words: Christian nationalism. The video didn't stop. I just wanted to say that. So if you want to dig deep into that hierarchy and what's happening in our country right now, just listen. Matter of fact, go to the New Evangelicals podcast on YouTube and watch the video that Tim recently put up about why Christian nationalists think they are oppressed. And that video will give you concepts of what's going on when it comes to these hierarchical systems and the like topsy-turvy way of thinking. And if you can apply, if you have the critical thinking skills that are critically thinking, if you have them, you can apply those concepts across other systems of hierarchy. I almost did the tongue twister again, but I caught myself. Okay. Age. In the hierarchy of age, I am also in the accepted version. You got to be between 30 and 50 in this society for anybody to think that you're worth anything, and barely. Okay. I'm on my way out. I'm breathing on 50's neck. Okay. My 49th birthday is next month. My 50th birthday is next year. So there's like a gut, right? Anything younger than 30, you pish posh. You ain't anything yet. Over 50, you out to pasture. Okay. And for women, I feel like we have an even tighter age accepted version, right? I think it's tighter. It skews a little young because reproductivity, they got to value us with that. But that's not what this video is about. I'm just saying it aloud so you can put these concepts across. Okay. And then in other things like disability, it's about obviously the accepted version is somebody who is completely independent and not disabled and consistently able to produce in the system of capitalism. Okay. And then when it comes to sexual orientation, clearly heterosexual is the smack dab in the middle, the top, and everybody's supposed to be performing and pretending to be that. And then when it comes to national origin, blonde hair. Which, listen, let me tell you what. Okay, let me say this. I'm from the Virgin Islands, and in the Virgin Islands, we don't say we're from the Virgin Islands. We're native born. We say we blonde hair. And that is a sense of pride. And it wasn't until I got up here that I realized that was a privilege. That was me centering myself and putting myself at the top of the hierarchy in the Caribbean, because there is a privileged value in a person who is native born citizen. Here too in the US. Like US mainland, right? So those are some of the systems of hierarchy that you can take this concept that we're about to talk to through this lady's beautiful video and apply it across. However, I'm just going to talk about race, which she talked about, and also gender, because that's what was on my mind when I decided to do this video. Okay. So here she go. Kiara Bria starts out by saying a lot of white people only know how to be friends with happy Black people. Lord Jesus. Now, why she went there? If you're watching this and you agree with that, let me know in the comments. If you have an experience where you realized that you were not allowed to have full range of emotion because of your race, let me know in the comments. Oh my whole God. Oh my whole God. Okay. She came out the gate. She came out the gate with that one. They hate it when you stop tap dancing. Kiara, oh my God. They hate it when you're not performing at your highest level because that may be how they met you. So that's how they see you. Strong. Strong like ox. Okay? Marissa, is this one gonna be a rough ride, okay? That's been your entire life. Think about the construct of the angry Black woman and how many times we as Black women have just been existing in our normal cultural expression without any concern about anybody interpreting it correctly. In my house, it makes sense. With my friends, it makes sense. In other Black spaces, it makes sense. And yet, you do the same thing when you go into a non-Black space, and all of a sudden, you are not happy, you are angry, you are scary, you're harming me, you're a threat. Tap dance, happy Black woman. Make me comfortable. Oh my God. Oh my God. Now let's talk about women, right? I feel like this kind of goes with men sometimes too. And what this is what I was thinking about. Kiara was thinking about race. I was thinking about gender. Okay. And if you look at what she said, it would be more like a lot of men don't know how to be around a woman with a full expression of emotion. They hate it when you stop tap dancing. They hate it when you're not performing. Tell me I'm wrong. Because that might be how they met you. So that's how they see you, you know? Except when it comes to women, it's more of docile, quiet, submitted. Me, 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 me. So anything else, any other emotion, if you are angry, if you are fearful, if you are tired, if you are sad, if you are joyous, if you are elated, somehow you are hysterical. Right. Remember the word hysterical comes from the same Latin root that hysterectomy comes from, because back in the day when women showed any heightened emotion or was upset about anything, they weren't considered upset about a valid thing. People back in the day thought, you ready for this? Our uterus had gotten loose in our bodies, and that's what was causing us to be like this. So that's why hysterical and hysterectomy have the same root word, because there was literally no space for a breath, a sweeping humanity of human emotion in a woman. You are allowed to be the accepted form, which is a performative, docile, quiet. Let me scroll down because I actually made notes to make sure that I have some stuff. Agreeable. Okay. With a manageable tone and appear non-threatening and willing to submit at all times. Blue Isis says we intimidate them. Okay. S. Oliver says, gives a new meaning to all my life I had to fight. Now let me tell y'all something, and I'm gonna tell you real talk, real deal. The reason why I was thinking about this in the space of gender is because I have been recently told that I am an aggressive woman that doesn't know how to speak to men. And in my mind, I am told that when I am just being me. Yeah? Which is why this concept of misunderstanding the expression of those who do not present at the center of the hierarchy or the top of the hierarchy was boppling through my head. Because never in my life have I ever been told such a thing by anyone, anywhere, except for and from people who are adherent to these types of hierarchical systems. Why are y'all letting me say that word knowing I can't say it? People who adhere to these systems there's literally a correlation between their strict adherence to that and them perceiving me and experiencing me as not being able to talk to men, because apparently there is a proper way to talk to men. And my way is aggressive. You see what I'm saying? And it made me think about how white people, because remember we're talking about race and gender, say very comparable things to Black people, right? And that's what Kiara was saying up here about a lot of white people don't know how to be friends, only know how to be friends with happy Black people, what they perceive to be happy. It's not even our real happy. She gets into that. It's the performative version of happy that's acceptable to them so that they feel comfortable, which you're going to get into. Same with gender, same with race. And they hate it when you are basically you stop holding in your stomach and you exhale. You stop tap dancing. They hate it when you're yourself, because what they want is not you. They want a performative version of you. Okay. I'm going to go on with what Kiara said. There's truly an intolerance for Black people's emotions in white spaces because you perceive them to be more intense and you perceive them to be threatening. And I don't have time to tell you why that's a microaggression. That's what I said about too much. Alanis Morissette is too much to ask for, and I'm not your doctor. Okay? Because I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm kind of in my let them choke era. So I don't know how this video is going to go down. Okay? As I told you guys, I grew up being trained into so many systems, not realizing that that's what was happening to me, and thinking that the people who trained me to do these things were giving me valid ways to operate in the world. And they were. But what they were giving me was ways to maneuver through a system. And I'm not gonna lie, tell me I'm not the only person that's had this happen. There is nothing more disconcerting than realizing that well-meaning, hopefully, sometimes not well-meaning, but in my case, I'm gonna go with well-meaning people trained you to be inauthentic and basically play a game and work in a system, and they don't know what they're doing either. You see what I'm saying? When you are growing up, you assume that the adults around you who are telling you how to do life know how to do life. And you think there is a way to do life, right? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? When you become a man, you put away childish things and you start to realize that there is no one way. Like I said, the hierarchy and the wheel thing is a very immature way of expressing things, rigid, black and white, and often a trauma response, but we're not going to go into that, okay? When you start realizing that, it's disorienting because your entire foundation of life starts to shake. If they don't know where they're going and they told you how to do this thing, how do you do this thing? Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. Oh, Marissa, listen, let me see what Marissa said because Marissa is smarter than me. Okay, listen. She has education. Marissa's a social worker. She might have the words. It's your only frame of reference for how to show up in your Blackness. It's your only frame of reference for how to show up as a woman. And you realize some don't. Some just decide to keep doing what the other people are, the people who taught them do and see if they could catch surprises. Remember I was talking about that catch surprises thing? It's this, okay? It's people aiming at the top accepted version of the hierarchy in whatever class we're talking about and hoping that the prices are going to fall on them. Yeah? Okay. Listen, Marissa, I was hoping you were coming with words because the words weren't coming to me. And I was like, Marissa went to school. Okay. Let me see what Marissa got to say because she might have the sentence correct. So nothing is more disorienting when you become an adult and you're just like, these people don't know what they're doing. Not only do they not know what they're doing, they're getting bad results and they're still giving me advice. They have the audacity to keep giving me advice and they're getting bad results. It is very confusing. Very much confusion. Okay. Very much confusion about how you show up, right? Quiet, docile, agreeable, shucking and jiving, tap dancing, right? And like Kiara said in the video, people don't know what to do when you finally stop holding in your stomach. Let your stomach out and say, listen, I ain't got time. I don't have it. I don't have it right now. Okay. Blue Isis says those are the 8%. Yeah, I think the 8% really, I have sat and listened to videos of people who are in the 8% because I am curious as to what in the whole world could have gotten you over there. And you are correct. When I sit and I listen, there is an adherence to systems and hierarchies that is unwavering and unbroken. They think they got the winning combination, they got the hand, and they about to win it all. And I mean, God made a world. You know what I mean? I don't know what to do about that. Listen. Okay, next on what Kiara said. She said, this is her transcript from the video I showed. I also think that white people don't consider that you're masking sometimes, or a lot of the time when you're in predominantly white environments. My God, on today. That part. Okay, let me see if I could get this out. I have often wondered how it is possible to not look at somebody and realize that this is a version of them that you are getting. Period. So for example, when I go to work, I don't think I'm seeing the 100% version of you. I'm seeing the work version of you. And to go into work and think that I'm seeing 100% version of you, it either means that I'm young or slow at this point. To me, I'm not calling you slow, but listen. I'm saying you're getting a version of me that is allowed to be in a work environment. And I don't understand how people who are white don't get that, because I feel like people who are white have a work version of them, possibly less constricted and restricted because their whiteness is allowed in the corporate spaces, but they also have to put on a professional version. So as Kiara said, how in the world can you not understand that a Black person in this system that we are all living in could be masking in front of you? How is that possible? In this political climate, there have been people who were making commentary about, specifically, I've heard Kamala when she was running and Jasmine Crockett. And they will make these comments about how they're switching back and forth and they're a fake version of themselves. And in my mind, I'm like, have y'all never heard of or had to code switch? Like, they will literally hear Kamala being sounding more culturally Black in Black spaces and call that her being a fake version of herself. And in my mind, I'm like, no, she's being a Black version of her. That's Kamala. The person in the Black spaces is her. Y'all should be asking who this other person is. Okay. Did y'all see the video of Kamala yesterday? She was at some woman's event, right? And she was her very, self, when she's trying to be serious. And then she flipped out of it for a second. And she said, listen, I ain't here to say I told you so. The person who ducked back from the mic and started giggling and laughing and said, I said I wasn't going to say that. That's Kamala. That's her real personality. That's her real personality. The version that's speaking to us is her, but it's a professional version. You get that. White people, you get that. So when you act all obtuse like you don't get it when it comes to Blackness, how, Sway? When non-conforming in your spaces at times can be detrimental to our health and life. To be a white person and not conceptualize that is wild work to me. It's like me being in a privileged position in a social order and not conceptualizing it. For example, if I'm a Christian and I'm in a space and I don't understand that people who are non-Protestant Christians might have to tippity tap tap dance to feel safe, what's wrong with me? Come on now. If I'm an able-bodied person and I'm not understanding the experience of somebody who is not able-bodied is different than mine, how? At this big age. Sorry, that was a little aggressive. How? I don't care. How are you not able and or willing to conceptualize that? You see what I'm saying? It don't make no sense to me. And I think that's what Kiara was saying. But in my mind, I'm like, I feel like adults are choosing that at this point. I don't know. Maybe I'm just wrong with that. She said, seriously, she went to an ACB. I'm going to get to this part in a second. I'm trying to understand I'm going to get to it. No, I'm going to say it now. I'm going to say it now. Because the video, listen, we're going to be here for a while, okay? So y'all just buckle in. One time I was at work and my coworker said to me, hey, I pulled up a video of you dancing on the internet. Okay. Our desk, I was here in the corner and his desk was over there in the corner. We kind of shared a big cubicle. And he was like, oh my God, I pulled up a video of you dancing on the internet. Right. I was a praise dancer for many years. And there are videos of me still out there dancing on Tabitha Brown's internet. Okay. Praise dancing. And apparently he had come upon one of these videos. And he says to me, I was looking at that video and I was thinking, who the heck is this? Because you don't even you're so I guess he was saying expressive and alive in my face and present, right? And I was like, who the heck was that? And I said to him, listen, y'all, I was weird at work. I was creepy because I wasn't happy at that job. I sat there typing. I didn't even turn my desk. I type. And I said, now the question you should be asking is, who is this? Because the chick on the video is me. Me and that man became work friends, and we were work friends up until 2016 when he turned out to be a negative 45 supporter. And he and I were going back and forth in my DMs. He could not understand where I was coming from. And I was like, what planet are we on? Anyway, all right. Kiara went on to say, and I just know there's a really big intolerance for me to interpret things differently, to feel uncomfortable and to be honest. And it doesn't need to come from a place of intention, but there is a certain time when I have to say to you, listen, I'm not being paid to tap dance right now, but that will be seen as aggressive. Y'all know how many times when I am in my therapy session with my Black woman therapist that I have now intentionally actually left my white male therapist of 10 years for other reasons. But one, because I had an experience with a Black woman therapist that was free through my job for 3 years and it was impeccable. And when she left, I was like, oh my God, I have to keep doing that. Do you know how many times I just go into my Black woman therapist and say, girl, listen, ain't gonna be no code switch, ain't gonna be no performance. I'm not even going to try to say it nice. I'm just going to let it come the F out. Okay. Because I cannot anymore. I can't do it anymore. That's what she's saying. To be in a space and not realize that some people who are not socially the quote unquote accepted version might be showing you their representative to stay safe is wild work. And you know what else is even wilder work? To then say that you're being harmed by that person because you don't understand the power dynamic at play. Sorry, I got a little spicy on that because y'all are saying stuff in the comments. Let me go ahead. Hey, Celeste. Hey, Glamazini, you mentioned before that you've overheard that coworker playing your video. That's why. Yeah, that was a different lady. That was Audrey. I'm gonna call her name. Hey Audrey, if you watch it, she ain't watching this. Listen, I shouldn't say she ain't watching this because she sure was watching it at the desk. Y'all, I was sitting at my desk and Audrey played a video of mine. I heard my own voice on the other side of the thing talking about, hey everybody, and I was like, listen, white woman. She was like, oh, sorry. Yeah, this was a different guy. He was at a different job. Was it the different job? And yeah, he was like, who is this vibrant, dancing, happy woman who is on this video? He said, I watched a few of them. And I was like, who is that? And I was like, do y'all know how creepy it is to tell somebody at work without even giving them eye contact? You should ask who this is because the woman on the video is me. Oh. Sorry. I cracked me up. I can't believe I said that to that man. I sure did. I said it. Okay. Maya says, side note, love the deep cut Alana's song. Saw her in concert last summer. And she's still, I love Alana's. I've been stuck on her. It's coming up because I've been stuck on her lately because I remembered Uninvited and how Jagged Little Pill. Give me a second. Me and Maya talking about Alanis Morissette. I remembered how the Jagged Little Pill album had me in a chokehold when I was in college. Okay. When that thing came out, I was on repeat. I still have it downstairs. So I pulled that thing back out and it's over. That's why she's in my brain, because I've literally been like heavy dosing Alanis Morissette for the last 2 weeks. Okay. And Miss Alanis said, it's too much to ask for. And I am not your doctor. That's what she said. Okay. And it's a word. It's a word. Okay. Anyway, Jagged Little Pill is life altering. Okay. If you did not experience Alanis when Alanis first dropped, I'm so sorry for you. Okay. That's the top of the hierarchy. And I'm just joking. I'm joking. Be serious, Reshni. You're trying to help people out here talking crazy. Okay. I was just playing around. Okay. Alanis experience, top of the hierarchy. No. Okay. So here we go. Back to Kiara's video. Okay. And let me say this. Same thing with gender. The intolerance of understanding that as a woman, I might be interpreting something different than you are, and that you as a man, if you're watching this, might be interpreting something different. And I might feel uncomfortable. And in the hierarchy, you're the one in the power position. Okay. And none of this coming from intention. It's coming from a place of, at times, I'm tired. I don't want to have to tap dance. I don't want to have to sound agreeable. And if I don't sound agreeable because I'm having an expressed emotion, you tell me that I'm an aggressive woman who doesn't know how to talk to men. What planet are we on? Shoo, fly, go away at this point. Like you try to contort yourself to these systems. All it does is crush you. It crushes the person doing the crushing, and it crushes they don't understand that they're being crushed because they're inauthentic and they don't know who they are. They're a whisper. They're a shell of themselves. And you're being crushed. And you're just like, why don't we just get off the system? Like, why don't we just buck the conveyor belt? I'm not saying that that's globally happening, but I'm just saying that's the thought you have. And the person is like, huh? No, the solution is if you would just get in your place and be agreeable and quiet. If you were just a black person that knew how to talk to white people, if you're just a woman that knows how to talk to men, it's exhausting. Okay. Anyway, so Kiara goes on to say, let me see, where am I? Boo-ba-doo, boo-ba-doo. I'm reading where okay. I also think that white people don't consider that you're masking sometimes, or a lot of the times when you're in predominantly white environments. It doesn't mean I'm not used to it. I grew up in PWIs, which is predominantly white institutions. It doesn't mean it's not tiring, but there's a lot of space for that but there's not space for that because in the status quo, that is whiteness, the construct of whiteness, not your skin color per se, but your skin color is attached to it because of history. So you can understand that, right? And if you can't, everybody say it with me. I am not your doctor. We too grown at this point. Okay. And silence and complacency, which is part of whiteness. This adherence to silence and complacency and assumption is part of the construct of whiteness that you have to give up so that you can get your prizes. And if you don't know that at this point, not my job. In order to feel human, I will have to disrupt that. at sometimes. That to be a person who is not the top of the hierarchy, to be a person who is not the centered person in a system, the idea, especially if you're a person who says that you are dismantling systems, that you don't understand that you're going to feel discomfort and you're going to feel disruption because for the first time in your life, somebody is telling you that you're not the center of the thing. Your way of being is not the center of the thing. Somebody is challenging your concept of what you think is normative. And normative is quiet and silent and agreeable. And in the concept of whiteness, it's complacency and hierarchy and this like blob of conformity where nobody is an authentic, varied version of humanity. We all are just morphing into this whiteness blob that somebody made up that nobody can ever get to in our beauty standards and our presentation layer, right? And you are adhering to that. And in adhering to that, not only are you shaving off pieces of me, trying to tell me I got to be in that box, you're shaving off pieces of yourself. But that's not my work, okay? My work is for Black and West Indian women. So you need to go find somebody talking to white women. Miriam Foster on TikTok, she is talking to she's a white woman, dismantling systems of hierarchy. Don't do it to yourself, Rashni. For women who are in the white woman box. If you happen to watch this video and you got this far into it, which good for you, okay? Miriam Forrester, I'll put a link to her in the information box when I'm done. She is out there doing the work. That's not my work. My work is for the Black women, okay? And the West Indian women. Same thing with womanhood. Same thing with womanhood, right? Men, listen, let me tell you something. Ain't nothing melting a person's brain more than a taste of privilege. Because privilege is a prison. It takes cognitive. Okay. In my opinion, it takes a bit of diminutive cognitive functioning. Intentionally, meaning pretending like you don't, or capacity wise, which means it's really not there, for you to uphold privileged positions. And if I'm being honest, hopefully I can get the nuance of this out. I think people who are in the privileged position and the non-privileged position of gender and race combinations understand what's going on much clearer than people who have a dabble of the privilege but don't. Let me tell you what I mean. If we're talking about race and gender, the people in the privileged position are white men. They know what's going on. They get it. The people, right? Because white, privileged, man, privileged. They get it. Clear as day. Their lived experience, clear as day. Right? In contrast, the people who are in the non-privileged position in just that four quadrant situation, we see what's going on entirely. That's why we are the 92%. That's why we can vote so clearly, okay? Because it's crystal clear what's happening in these systems of hierarchy. But let me tell you something. Do y'all ever think about the struggle of being a man, which is privileged, but Black, which is not? Or white, which is privileged, and a woman, which is not? That combination, the Black man and the white woman combination, that has to be so I have watched and listened to so much content about the disconcerting nature where the privilege has poisoned their comprehension. Their manness is overtaking their Blackness. And in their mind, they're aware of the performative nature in the Black space, but then arguing patriarchal terms in the man space, and you can't see the correlation, sir. And same with whiteness, which is what Miriam Forrester or Foster, I don't know. I'm sorry, Miriam, I'm mispronouncing your name. I need to check that. The womanness is clear as day to them. They get it there. But the idea that they could be blind in the whiteness part is nowhere to be found. How, Sway? How? I had to scroll back up because I felt like Blue Isis had said it for me. How? Because if you are a woman and you know that patriarchy exists and you feel the exhaustion of having to perform and tap dance in male spaces and shrink yourself and adhere to hierarchical systems and demands to create safety and ride this system for all it's worth, and you know that men can't see it, but you can see it because you're a woman, then how in the world can you sit there in the year of our Lord 2025 and say that you are not aware of your ignorance in the space of whiteness? You don't know what you don't know because you are part of the privileged class. Likewise, the person telling me that I am an aggressive woman who doesn't know how to talk to men is a man, a Black man. How, Sway? I'm getting to y'all comments. How? How is that possible? Oh, Blue Isis says it's Foster. Thank you. I was butchering Miriam's name. I'm sorry, Miriam, girl. She might actually watch my video one day. Who knows? I'm sorry. I think we're mutuals on TikTok now. I really enjoy her content. She really out there doing the work. How? How can you say you know you're blind in one spot, but not in the other? I am the mom of a son with special needs. And before this, I knew nothing about the community of disabled people. If you had asked me if I've known it, I would have told you no. But I also would not have understood how my choices and ways of showing up could be causing them harm because I did not have any purview to that. So at least you can admit that you don't understand it and that there is ignorance. I think I said on my I've Created a Monster podcast that I am starting to realize that the most dangerous people that I ever experience are people who tell you there are only 5 colors and are not willing to hear that somebody else can see 17. If I tell you that there's 17 colors and you say there's only 5, and you don't think to yourself, oh, okay, well, maybe there's 12 I can't see, you're a problem in my mind. That's the world I live in now. Anybody who's right fighting about their deficit to comprehend what's going on in a space is dangerous work to me, right? Because at least you have to live in a world where if you are trying to center yourself constantly, and in your mind, the only way to live is to make sure that your 5 colors are the only colors that people get to adhere to. Meanwhile, there's an entire group of people over here that can see 12 more colors than you. No, you're unsafe because they have to crush themselves to come down to your level. I don't know how I got over there, but that's what I felt like saying. Okay, let me keep going. So this is what Kiara said in her video. There's a really big intolerance for me to interpret things. I read that part already, and that it will be seen as aggressive, right? When Black people interpret things differently in the conversation I'm having, when women interpret things differently, right? When we stop holding our stomach, when we relax and we're honest, right? It comes off as aggressive to people who put themselves in the position of being oppressed when systemically they are in the higher position. So that is not what's going on. Let me tell you something. Go watch that video by the New Evangelicals, Tim, about why white Christian nationals think that they're being oppressed. And see how dangerous they are now. They are causing the harm. They're at the top of the food chain socially, with all of the power socially, and still crying oppression. How? The answer to how is a conceptual view of power and victimhood at the same time that creates immense amounts of danger for everyone else while people tuck under the concept of being the victim. And that's when it comes to white and Black, when it comes to race and everything in between and all the shades in between. And that's when it comes to gender, woman and man, and all the shades in between. Okay? Because biology. Sorry. She then says, there's a big intolerance for Black people's emotions to take up space in a way that maybe people aren't used to. Maybe they've never had to do it before. I don't know. Is that my responsibility? I already touched on that when it comes to Blackness, when it comes to race, and when it comes to gender. Your insistence on remaining in ignorance is adhering to a systemic hierarchy that demands you to be silent, complacent, and conformist. But is that my responsibility? That you don't want to be your whole authentic self? What I got to do with me? What does that have to do with me? Okay. Does my haughtiness upset you? What did she say? Let me see. I wish I had that I wish I had the poem memorized, okay? Maya said, "You may write me down in history with your bitter twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I rise." Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I got oil wells pumping in my living room. Come on, Maya. Talk to us. Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope spring high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries, which is how I used to be. Okay. But does my haughtiness upset you? Offend you? Sorry. Don't you think it's awful hard because I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard? Okay. I'm not going to keep going. I want to read Still I Rise. That's Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. But honestly, that's the real question. And Maya was asking us, Maya been here, lived this life, and left us. And the questions still remain. Does my full expression of self, does me not shaving off pieces of myself to try to get prizes offend you? Does me showing up in my full womanhood when you have cut off pieces of yourself to conform to a construct, does that offend you? Maybe you are jealous. Darius Daniels says that jealousy is mismanaged exposure. If you are exposed to my full, boisterous, authentic expression and you feel discomfort inside of you, maybe that discomfort is hearkening you over here to the land where you can frolic freely as yourself and get to know who you are, and not to tuck yourself back into what you think is safety in the prison of those who adhere to the hierarchy. And clearly I'm going to go over today, you guys, because we're here now. Okay. I told y'all this was just me thinking aloud. Today's video was going to just be me thinking aloud because I was thinking about this when it came to gender. How, when you understand that these systems mean I have to show up differently to be safe, can you then handle me as though you are the victim at the top and the bottom of the food chain? Where are you? Okay. You're being harmed by me because I'm aggressive, but what you're calling aggressive is just me being expressive. And the reason why you feel harmed is because your system says I'm supposed to be quiet and agreeable. But what if I just want to be a human? Okay. A healing, happy, humor-filled human. That is threatening. That is threatening. Kiara then went on to say, it might not be my responsibility, but I'm starting to feel that it's required of me to feel like people aren't looking at me like I'm the problem, but maybe I am the problem. Okay, Kiara come off like she young to me. No offense if you watch this video, but yes, boo-boo, that's what's happening. Okay, I'm almost 50, so you coming off fresh and young. Either that or you're aging like fine wine. Good for you. Yes, boo-boo, that's what's happening. Are you the problem? Are we the problem though? Or are we the solution? I'm saying that for real. To those who want the systems to be maintained, and there are plenty of people who do, we see that in our current climate. We are a problem. And that is part of what we are preached, especially right now when it comes to the system of hierarchy of Christianity, Protestant Christianity. Listen, Christian nationalists are like, we are under attack. Okay. Listen, I am a Christian. Okay. I have been deep studying my Bible for almost 5 years, for 5 years now plus. And ain't nothing like a persecution story to get a Christian salivating. They are under full attack at all times, putting on armor and vigilant at all times. And you have to realize that when you are pumped full of that messaging, you almost go out into the world. How do you say that? If you're a hammer, everything is a nail. Right? So right? So like it's the same thing of like when it comes to race, when it comes to gender. But specifically, I'm just jumping out right now. When you look at the environments that we're in and this messaging of them being harmed, when what's happening is they're being decentered and they feel decentering as harm. Right? So from our perspective, their perspective, we are the problem. If we would just be eradicated from the situation or we would conform to the hierarchy, everything would go back to normal and we could all be happy together, right? But we won't do that because in our world, and I'm saying this because the women I'm talking to, we are returning to the divine version of us that God created. And God did not create cookie cutter blobs, conformist blobs, not over here. So if you're looking for cookie cutter or conformist blob, you're on the wrong page. Okay. I'm not going to help you with that. You got to go find somebody who's going to pump that into your brain. Okay. I've extricated myself from many of those spaces and will continue to do so. And I'll pull out as many other people who want to come with me. Okay. So it's not our responsibility, but it definitely is a requirement in the system. And in my mind, we can be seen as problematic, but to me, it's actually the solution. And oftentimes the solution that the other people who are trying to adhere to the power dynamic in the hierarchy don't even know is the solution. And that's just me thinking aloud. Authenticity, allowing people to be their whole authentic self without having to conform and be complacent and be silenced when it comes to racial expression, right? Whiteness, palatable, blackness, respectability, politics, and all that stuff, okay? Gender, right? I'm sure this is back to her transcript. I'm sure I am the problem when it comes to that. What is status quo? What is, again, complacency? We need to understand that the environments and cycles and systems have a natural tone that isn't going to be welcome to people who may not be small, thin, white, whatever, right? That's her words. And I'm basically saying we need to understand that these environments and these cycles and these systems may have a natural tone that's not going to be welcoming to people who are not the accepted version of that thing. And if you don't listen, that's the floor at this point. That level of cognition is the foundation on which your thoughts should be built. If you can't start the thought understanding that if you are in the privileged position, it feels normal to you what's being asked. But if you're not in the privileged position, whether it's race, whether it's gender, whether it's sexuality, whether it's religion, it's ability, whether it's citizenship, whether it's all these things, if you can't even start there. Okay, fix your face, Rashni. Sorry. Come on. And understand that it's not going to be welcoming, that there's going to be a bit of performance, right? That you're not going to get the happy version. And if you get the whole expansive version, it's not a threat to you. They're not an aggressor. They're a whole complex human being that's actually showing up as their real self for probably the first time around you because they're trying to see if you're safe. And if you won't allow that, then you are not safe. We need understanding that the environments and cycles and systems have a natural tone that isn't going to be welcoming to people who who are maybe not small, thin, white, whatever. If you can only be friends with a Black person or a woman or anyone, right, who is not in the hierarchical top, when they are super happy and performing in a way that you're used to, That's not tolerance, and that's not space. Listen, Kiara was eating it up with this video, okay? And it's not about people being racist or not racist. It's about the way that you have learned to be as a person who exists in whiteness or maleness or ability. I'm gonna drag people who are able-bodied, okay? Because I'm the mom of a son with special needs. We doing it too, okay? Or Christianity. Hello? Is this thing on? Come on now. Uh-huh. That the other people don't have access to. And it would be nice for you to acknowledge that every once in a while. That's what she's asking for you to acknowledge that you are sitting in a space of privilege and you don't know what you don't know. And this person is potentially always having to exhaustively show up as performative so that they remain safe. If you don't know it, how? But if you don't know it and you're watching this video, you know it now. So you don't have any excuse. It shouldn't be expected of a Black person to always perform to the level and tap dance with certain smiles and outward projection of what it means to be comfortable in white spaces. Nobody ever considers it doesn't look the same for me. Do you know what I'm saying? Same with womanness. Same with all the other ones. It shouldn't be expected for a woman to always perform to the level and tap dance at certain smiles and be quiet. An outward projection of femininity and what it means to be comfortable in male spaces. Like a lot of work environments are very patriarchal, okay? And a lot of church environments are extremely patriarchal. And a lot of natural ways of how women show up when it comes to connection and vulnerability and social connection when it comes to togetherness and how we get stuff done is looked down upon in certain work environments. What? But that's just how we're wired. So you have to consider that it doesn't look the same for everyone to be a safe person. And it's just like, I think specifically when you're raised in a predominantly white environment, you might be used to conforming like that. That's what we're saying. When you are the center of the wheel, when you are the top of the hierarchy, you are used to performing the thing and you don't even know it's a performance. The way that you show up is okay, accepted, and you've never had to switcheroonie at all to feel safe, or very little to feel safe. And when you're around people you should feel comfortable with, you don't want to have to, you want to be able to take off a mask, right? So people who are not the center of the wheel want to unmask sometimes. They can't be tap dancing all the time, performing for their safety. That's exhausting. And once you do, you're going to see how those people really see you. When you are your honest self, and this is so interesting, you could be the most authentic version of yourself and they'll say, who is this version of you? I only know the tap dancer. And this is what I was telling you about my coworker asking me, who is that? He worked with me. I actually got a little one-liner off because he was like, I thought you didn't have a personality. And I said, well, that's funny because I thought you didn't do any work. I kind of miss him. He was such a good time. We were friends after we left that job for over a decade until this man turned out to be a negative 45 supporter. What in the whole entire world? And when I tell you, he and I tried, we talked back and forth and I was like, what planet are you on? You were such a good time. Oh my God. Anyway. Requiring a Black person to explain why their experience is different than yours in a room that you were in, like it couldn't be possible or true because you were there, is negating their whole experience as a Black person and their ability to interpret things that start off as microaggressions but end up in danger. Because when we're looking for microaggressions, it's for safety reasons. That right there. Requiring a Black person to tell you why what happened to them was unsafe puts your perception as the center and the only center. It's you saying there's only 5 colors. I don't care whether you see 12 other ones. It's you putting way too much trust in your ability to experience something as the only way to experience something. Same thing with manhood. Same thing with manhood, okay? Having a woman tell you she feels unsafe should be the end of the story. You know why? Because unless you have lived out in this world as a feminine presenting person who is trained to to be in this predator and prey type of situation. And listen, some of that is actually lauded, okay? I'm not even going to go into all that. Unless you have lived in it, you cannot tell them what the experience is, even if you were standing there, because you seem to be unaware that your presence changes what's happening. Your presence changes what's happening, and your experience of it is missing information. If you can't conceptualize that you aren't the center of everything and there's information that you're missing, you are unsafe. Blue Eye says, I'm tired. I'm not saying I'm tired, like physically tired. I'm saying as I've kept living on this planet and I'm nearing age 50, there's an exhaustion that happens when you think that some of these things are so obvious and you realize that you're never going to live to see the world that you know that is possible in a collective sense, because there's so many people that are way far back. Not only are they back when it comes to potentially desire to think about these things, but maybe ability to think about these things. And then there's also a contingent of people who are literally trying to regress. It's an exhausting experience. And then you realize that what you have to do is basically carve out for those who want to move progressively forward. But it's a tiring experience. And part of this video is just to create a space where Black women can hear that you're not crazy. Okay. It's part of the work that I'm doing to free us from performance and give us the courage to be ourselves, because you might think you're the only person having this experience, because if you're in a predominantly white space or if you're in a predominantly male space, they might be, listen, you're surrounded by people telling you something and telling you that your experience is not valid. So something like this could help you be like, wait a minute. It's just not me. No, boo-boo, it's just not you. It's just not you. Let's go on with this. She said, the same way you as a woman, when you say to your man, there's this little thing that bothers me, and I know you don't get it, but I need you to care about it because it bothers me. That's the space people can and cannot understand, but you should care that it bothers me. That. And that goes for all of the systems of hierarchy. Once you realize that we, especially in Western society, are trained to prioritize systems of hierarchy, you should at least live a life willing to conceptualize whether or not you are encountering one of those systems. Whether you know what to do with it or not is secondary, because as long as you start out with being like, wait a minute, if I wasn't the center of this experience and I sat and I listened, I think there was a video a long time ago that I said to myself, I said to you guys on a video, it was a long time ago, about one of the things that's really rough about privilege and the prison of privilege is privileged people don't listen very well, because to maintain their perceived and hopeful space in this hierarchy they're trying to climb, they got to be like, la, 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 la. That's the complacency, right? They have to give up some of themselves. If they listen, they would have to now contemplate and sit with the fact that they are creating a space of not safety and requirements for inauthenticity in others while selling pieces of themselves. They would have to sit with the fact that they were a shell of themselves. And nobody wants to do that. It's a lot easier just to adhere to the system and hope that the prizes fall on you. And then if the prizes don't fall on you, which they don't typically fall on most of the people, it's a few people that get to the top of that hierarchy. You just praise the people at the top of the hierarchy as an example of what could happen if you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, okay? And it totally takes away, listen, we're here today. It takes away environmental factors, and that's why those things don't work. Because it takes on this whole, like, everybody has an even playing field. External factors don't matter. If something negative happened to you, it had nothing to do with systemic things going on. It has to do with the fact that you just didn't try hard enough. So go ahead and play the game, and we're all going to play the game. And one of these days, all of us are going to be a billionaire, and we're not. So, and then what happens is the masses fall to the wayside, and the people who are just like, well, I could get up there. The possibility of getting up there. Anyway, I'm going to keep going. Unfortunately, a lot of times that little space isn't given because it's too much of a disruption for the status quo. That's what I was saying. And for me to act like that's valid, for me, is to valid or fair to me, is stripping me of my humanity. That's what I was saying. And you can disagree with that, but I don't know how to explain to you. I'm not a tap dancer in a cage. I need effing air. I need oxygen. And here's the thing. I hope Kiara gets to the point where she realize she don't need to explain to them anymore. Like I said, she reads young. So this is a process I went through too. And it's not a process I'm finished with. I'm not finished with this process. I feel like I'm just further along. Okay. Feeling like you have to beg for your humanity to be acknowledged by another human being is not a healthy human being. Now, what you do with that is up to you, but you just have to call a thing a thing. I spent many, many years of my life trying to find common ground with somebody who was trying to crush me. I'm trying to find common ground with them. They're trying to step on my neck to get higher in the hierarchy. It took me years to realize that we didn't even have the same goals. And I'm not saying everybody. I'm saying when you discern that specific individual who is in that privileged class is not trying to dismantle and understand their position in the class and work from that vantage point, they are unsafe. And often you will encounter people in those spaces, in the white space, in the male space, in the citizen space, in the straight space, in the Protestant Christian space, in the able-bodied space, in the top of the hierarchy, in the accepted version of the thing, who they ain't trying to hear you. Okay. They trying to get their prizes. And you here trying to, you just trying to reach out your hand, kumbaya, my Lord, kumbaya. And you got a foot in your face. Boo-boo, you got to leave those people where they are. It's not your job to light yourself on fire to keep somebody else warm. You're trying to come to a common ground with this person, and this person is not trying to do the same thing. And when I tell you, it took me years, my life, oh my God, crushing myself under the weight of people who were really just adherent to systems that I could not comprehend. This is like I'm backtracking into the understanding. Okay. Once your presence starts to threaten their relationship with the white man, because remember, she's talking about white spaces. Okay. But in this space, we're just talking about once your presence starts to threaten their relationship with the top of the hierarchy. So if it's whiteness, the top of the hierarchy is whiteness. If it's manness, it's patriarchy. And that should explain to you guys a lot of some of the foolishness you hear coming out of Black men's mouth on these podcasts, these microphones have gone wild. And y'all are looking at them thinking, but how? It's because, like I said, when you're at the top of the food chain, white and male, it's a lot clearer. When you're at the bottom of the food chain, it's a lot clearer, Black and woman. But when you have some privilege and not some, Black man, white woman, listen, it takes a lot of cognition to untangle that thing. And a lot of us encounter people who cannot. They cannot untangle racism from their womanhood. And likewise, they cannot untangle patriarchy and misogyny from their Blackness. They are struggling with it. And we hear it on podcast mics every single day. That's what's happening. Okay. Anyway. And this is why, let me see. Once your presence starts to threaten their relationship with the white man who may or may not hold the keys to their industry or the top of their hierarchy, and you understand that you and your Black presence or your woman, whatever it is, and you need to vie for your humanity, it could come in the way of their social status and their seat at the table. Remember, now they're trying to get to their prizes. Okay. They think that's the other thing too. There's a lack mentality. There's not enough for everyone in these hierarchical systems. Okay. I just said it really good that time. Did you guys hear? I said it. Oh my God. Woo. I did it. It's me. Clap for me. Okay. Focus, Rashni. There's not enough for everybody. Okay. There's never enough for everybody. It's not an abundance mentality. It's a scarcity mentality. If you at the table, their seats are gone. They don't pull up another chair. Okay. They fighting for scraps. All right. They fight for scraps. And you start to see it in their eyes that they will sacrifice you because it's in their blood. It's in their blood. Now that's what Kiara said. Okay. I see people out here unlearning this. What I will say to you is, if you see somebody, if you are a person in one of these systems and wondering what's going on, for you to have the courage to be yourself and show up authentically, you need to be conscious of the fact that everybody ain't checking for you like that. Some people are showing up in this default where all they learned is I'm this and I'm is scarce and all the things I said to you. And you need to intentionally and actively look for the people who are unlearning. If you intend to stay in spaces with people in the hierarchy, some people decide just not to. I'm not there, but I'm just saying you can't just be friends with everybody and think it's all kosher. No, boo-boo. Kiara got a point. Okay. Lastly, and this is why, like when we're talking about social settings and white people think that they know how you are meant to behave, which is wild work. Wild work. Because I have never used a wheelchair. I have a son who is a wheelchair user. So I have proximity and I am standing aside the disability community. But it would be wild work for me to tell somebody who is a full-time wheelchair user how they should behave in a space. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? For me to fix my able-bodied mouth and tell them how it should be. The narcissism, the level of centering that it would take, it would break my cognition. But some people are showing up like it's like a toddler. Is it immaturity? It could be. Huh. It would take some level of immaturity, cognitive immaturity. I don't know what's going on. For me to show up and tell a man what his experience, well, that's not a good thing because I'm not the privileged position. Let's see. A non-Christian, what it's like for them, how they should show up in a space. It'd be wild work. But people do it all the time. We see people doing it all the time. And it would be, and you are ostracized for not behaving with the status quo, right? It's like, you know, I always think about the impetus for Black people to run away and laugh or run away laughing and covering their mouth was to not get caught by their slave owners. But you can't say that to them, meaning white people in Kiara's video. Are you thinking about the blood of my ancestors and how it makes me behave versus how the blood of your ancestors makes you behave in a primarily white space? And how that to me would feel like a threat. This is so good. But to you feels like home. She said, to her, it's a threat. To you, it feels like a threat. That's what I was talking about. Because you are operating from this place where you think we are equitable already. You are unaware of the equity, some kind of how. And so you're operating as though you are the victim, right? In a situation where you are actually the oppressor, and you not understanding that you are operating from a place of power, whether it's whiteness, whether it's maleness, whether it's Christianness, whether it's straightness, all of the things, right? You not understanding that and insisting on calling the person, speaking up for their full lived experience and showing up authentically, telling them that that request is harming you, means that you are now you are actually the oppressor, and even more dangerous than they thought. Anyway, this video is way longer than it's supposed to be, and I have to run soon because Zion is still doing, my son Zion is still doing at home, homebound school. He's homebound for the whole rest of the school year, you guys, because of his healing is from his surgery. Okay, this is what I have down. Brene Brown, who is a researcher, an instructor, a social media person now, an author. She distinguishes between fitting in and belonging. And I love her distinction. Fitting in involves assessing a situation and becoming who you need to be accepted by the crowd. It is the complacency and assimilation of these systems, right? It is a Black person becoming more colorblind and ignoring the historical underpinnings of how our race was used in this country. It is a woman or a trans person becoming more cisgendered male presenting, hiding things, being more agreeable, being more manageable in their tone, not threatening. Okay, not threatening, but productive. Productive. You gotta be productive too. Okay, it is a non-Christian person like hiding their religious practices and like anglicizing their name and trying to fit in, you know what I mean, and not being big and bold about celebrating some of their religious things. It's a person who is outside of accepted age frames or ranges, feigning expertise when they're too young, or performing youth because they feel like they're aged out and they have to be youthful in their markers to show up in a space. It's disabled people being quiet about their needs when it comes to accommodations in spaces so that they don't come off like too much or minimizing that they might be in pain, or performing their wellness so that they can be seen as competent and productive again, always productive because capitalism, okay? And so on, right? That's fitting in, right? In contrast, Brene Brown talks about belonging. Belonging is you be who you are. Y'all know how I feel about identity work. Identity is the answer to the question, who are you? You figure out who you are. You figure out who God created you to be. You figure out how you are created divinely to show up here on this planet in your unique expression, not just in these spaces that I just told you, because those are just the limitations of the human mind. I'm talking about just getting to know you the way God intended you to be, which is hard to do in this world. Okay. But you do that, and you do that. And it's about being authentic. It's about showing up as an expression of yourself without any need to change. And then you show up as you and I show up as me, and we come into community together. That's belonging, right? A lot of these systems require you to break off pieces of yourself to fit in. And I am more of a proponent of what Brene Brown categorizes as belonging, right? You allow yourself to be authentic. You show up feeling safe, and you only seek places where your full authentic expression is okay. When places say that you're not okay, you leave them. Listen, that took me forever. I had to stop on that one. Hey, Basha, the way I broke off pieces of myself that I'm still trying to go back and get. I'm going back to get her. Okay. I'm going back to get her. The devil thought he had me. All right. But I've learned that even the ones who break off pieces of themselves, like I said, not that many people win the prizes. The prizes are a figment of many of our imaginations. And when you get to the end of this life, what is the point if you are not you? What's the point if this is not your life, right? I'm not saying that to just show up fully unmasked in all situations. There's nuance. And if you can't understand the nuance, Alanis one more time. I'm not your doctor. Okay. That's not my work to do. I'm saying you make adjustments of how you want to be perceived based off of a healthy self-concept and an anchoring for you, a full version of you that's on the inside, because you've done the work to either be her, or create her. Because you've dismantled some of these things internally so that you can choose how you show up, adjusted in certain situations where you want to be this way at work, or you want to be this way in a relationship, whatever, but you don't feel like you're forced. Okay. Like Marissa says, cookie cutter conformist blob. I can't tell where you begin and I can't tell where I end. You don't have no boundaries. You don't have no nothing. I can't tell the difference between you and any old 8% conforming Black person. Because all of y'all walk the same, talk the same, do the same things, and have the same thoughts. Okay. The other thing I want to say is, before I leave, is because today's gone really long. This can take a toll on us. Black women, take care of yourself. Okay. I'm going to rush through this a little quick because I'm going a lot longer, but I wrote down that there's a role for rest, because this type of thing is very exhausting, right? We fit into all of us, and the intersectionality of all of us fits into multiple categories. Today, I was really focused on race and gender, and most of my people watching this are Black women. And so we have a hierarchical system that's telling us all kind of performative messaging with race and with gender. Take care of yourself because performing is exhausting. Recognize that you could be exhausted because of this consistent request and demand to perform. And I would tell you that you have permission to reconnect with your authenticity. Figure out who you are. Go into my information box. There is a download. I think it's in there. It should, the Who Am I Identity Workbook. It'll help you answer the question of who am I, and it is for free. If you don't see it, click on the pineapplecrowns.com. It should be in the information box, and then click on gift in the navigation. Okay. And you can get the free download. I am a huge advocate for people, especially Black and West Indian women, being able to answer the question, who am I? And then creating a life from that answer. Okay. From that answer. Because we live in systems that are always telling us to perform, your rest is a resistance to the system. Because you're not supposed to rest. You're supposed to be a tap dancing, for other people's whatever. We off that. Okay. Come up with, incorporate practices that allow you to pause, become aware of what's actually going on so that you're not on the conveyor belt, and then make informed choices about what you will and won't allow in your one lived life. This your life. Okay. Who you will and won't be in this one lived life. Okay. How you will take care of your body, how you will take care of your mind, how you'll take care of your spirit. All right. A couple more things before I go. Okay. Before I go, I have a few things that I want to let you guys know about. First of all, How to Heal A Journey to Yourself is my new reimagined coaching membership. I restarted my coaching membership last year, thepineapplecrowns.com. And it has been a year from my restart. It was a wild ride because I had one thing in mind and then my son's surgery kept moving and it was all over the place. How to Heal is the new reimagined, revamped version of my coaching membership. It is a 12-month framework that I've put together in where I can take people through a systemic progression on how to heal. Because after many years of busting my head, busting my own head, doing things in all the orders and trying to figure out stuff and being confusioned. I wanted to put what I know in one place, in an order that kind of gives Black and West Indian women a foundational understanding of how to do a healing journey. Okay. Healing journeys are unique. I can't tell you how to do your exact healing journey, but I do know that all of us say we're on a healing journey, especially nowadays. It's almost like the 92% just woke up and was like, we worrying about ourselves and we got to get our act together. I don't know what just happened, okay, with us, but it was like some kind of signal went off in our brains. I have put together my How to Heal framework to walk you through how to heal, okay? How to return to yourself so that you are living and creating a life from that internal self, who you are, what you want, etc. Okay. I start with foundational work, safety, finding your voice, processing grief, because those things are foundational for you to live from. A lot of people get stuck there and they can't move on to creating a life that they want because they stuck on grief. And I'm not saying that that's not a thing that is important. I'm saying I can help. I can share with you what I've learned so you don't have to, it's kind of like the shortcut, okay? Move on to self-concept, which is who you are, what you want, which is desires. I'm gonna get to that in a second. And boundaries, which is where you begin and where you end, and where they begin and where they end. Then I move on to actually designing your life, okay? Your systems is what I call it. Rest, a life of rest, because the messaging that Black and West Indian women is not a life of rest, and rest is so important. Rest is integral. Matter of fact, I have my card here from the deck. Rest is a lifelong practice. And especially for us as Black women who are taught to not rest, to be tools in the system of capitalism, rest is a practice that you have to learn and practice. I walk you through how to make an impact in the world and your gifts. And what I'm calling holistic productivity. I used to be a big proponent of get her done, get her done, get her done, get her done. I'm still a proponent of get her done. Like I said, I'm the mom of a son with special needs, and I'm tantamount to being a nurse. And I'm running this coaching business. And I'm in the market looking for another part-time job because I got laid off last year. There's a lot happening, but I call it holistic productivity because I don't crush myself to get anything done in systems anymore. so I can help you with that. And then at the end, we talk about your legacy, creating your life, creating your connections, creating your community, designing your future, and then integrating it all together. If you are interested, come to How to Heal, come to join How to Heal, come to thepineapplecrowns.com and join the group membership. If you are currently a member, I have emailed most of you, not everybody. Most of you have gotten an email so far. And if you don't have the email yet, I'm working on it, okay, on how to switch over current members, okay? So check it out. Rashni, we need info on how you trademark these amazing titles. I'll tell you. I will tell you how that works, Marissa, on the background. I used to be listen, let me tell you what the plug is so you can know this. The plug is be in a mastermind and become friends with a trademark attorney who tells you things. Okay. I met a friend. She was actually on my channel. She is a trademark attorney, and she used to tell me what to do. Okay, bless it. That's the plug. The plug is get with Black women who know what they're doing, okay, and ask them questions. That's the plug. The other thing I want to tell you guys about, I didn't put it. Let me see. Job Liberation Summit for Black women is happening this year, May 16th through the 21st. I'm gonna put it in the comment section, you guys. And this is what I'm saying, Marissa. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Okay. Listen. Link is in the comment section, and I will come back and put it. I think it's in the information box on Facebook and YouTube. Marissa Price, who you see in the comments on YouTube, and I put on the screen, as well as Dr. Kamani. Oh, Facebook said that it didn't go through. I'll go back and put it in on Facebook if you're watching. Dr. Kamani Norton Sands, they host the Job Liberation Summit for Black women, virtual summit for Black women who are intending to exit and pivot from toxic jobs. I am actually a speaker this year, Eba Shata, and I am speaking all about desire. What do you want? And permission to create it in your life, to create the vision, okay? And then make it happen. So if you would like to attend the Job Liberation Summit, the link is in the information box, and it is in the comment section. And I think that's it. We went super long, you guys, but listen, thank you guys for hopping around with me on this one. I had to get this out of my brain. I had to get it out of my brain. Okay. Sometimes I just got to do it. All right, you guys, be well, be encouraged. Thanks, Marissa. Here's a pineapple. Bye, y'all. Stay safe out there. Bye.